What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Canadian Football Fanatics, and thank you guys for tuning in to another video. Spring is in the air, ladies and gentlemen, and we are moving that much closer to the CFL Combine and the CFL Draft. We continue our CFL Prospect Series today here on the channel. We're going to be joined by University of Montana receiver Keelan White, a proud BC boy, went down to Montana, earned himself a full Division I scholarship, and repped his, country, his province, put on, and now has made it to the stage where he is going to be hoping to hear his name called, whether it's in the CFL for sure, and maybe potentially even in the NFL. This is going to be another hybrid episode. We have been diving into the CFL prospects, and Keelan is rightfully so a CFL prospect, but similar to Taylor Ellersma, who we had on a few episodes ago, there is some NFL interest in Keelan as well. Seeing as that he played his college football down in the States, I'm sure there's been a lot more eyes and attention on Keelan and his name, reputation, all that sort of stuff going into his draft year, his draft process upcoming. So as we've been doing, having some prospects on, going through their journey, we're going to do the same thing here today with Keelan. As I said, Keelan is a proud BC boy, so I'm excited to chat about that with him, being a fellow British Columbian myself. Repping the BC and the West Coast is something I love to do. I'm sure Keelan reps it down in Montana as well. Keelan had himself a pretty interesting journey and a pretty unique one. He was a part of the Game Ready Elite program, establishing themselves down in the States, representing Team BC, representing Team Canada, earning a Division I scholarship, like I mentioned. And now he is here today on the doorsteps of hearing his name being a professional athlete. He was a part of the CFL Scouting Bureau list in both the fall and winter list. He was number 10 in the fall, number 5 in the winter. And of course, we'll get another spring ranking and see where he lands on that one. Keelan is down in South Florida, I believe, right now, training and getting ready for his pro day, etc. So we appreciate Keelan for joining us today. I know it's a busy time while he's getting ready and prepping himself for the big day and months and weeks ahead. So we appreciate his time. Before we get to that, though, of course, guys, like, comment, and of course, smash the subscribe button. Wish my partner in crime, Blake, was here to do it with me. When you guys hit the subscribe button, please be sure to hit the notification bell. You guys will get notified every single time we upload any sort of content, YouTube short, go live, you name it. You guys will get a notification to your phone, laptop, whatever device you are consuming our content on. You guys will get updated, and a little ping will come to your phone. The Canadian Football Fanatics have posted, and we have been busy, folks. So you guys will want to be in the notifications. We have been trying to upload 2 episodes per week as of right now, and it's been a lot, but I know you guys are enjoying it, and we are as well, learning about the future stars of the CFL and or NFL. It's been a lot of fun. So before we get into today's episode 44 already. Look at that, folks. The finger is improving. T's and P's. Shout out to nothing was wrong with me. I know I believe last or 2 episodes ago I was like, oh, my bent finger. I got stitches in my finger, folks, and I can finally get it back to full range of motion. But you guys don't want to hear about my finger. What you guys want to hear is a ad read today, and we're going to start with, of course, Area 51 Sports. And this episode is brought to you by Area 51 Sports, your one-stop shop for all your football needs. Whether you're looking for top-notch footballs, helmets, shoulder pads, cleats, gloves, flag football gear, or even custom uniforms, Area 51 Sports has got you covered. Trusted by athletes at every level, they're dedicated to helping you play at your best. Gear up and dominate the field with Area 51 Sports. Visit their website today and take your game to the next level. This episode is also brought to you by your senior men's Canadian national football team. They need your support as they gear up to represent Canada in Europe this April when they take on Team Italy. Help the boys bring home the win by checking out the fundraising options and official team merchandise at footballcanada.com. Every purchase and donation goes directly to supporting the team on their journey. Let's show the world what Canadian football is all about. Head to footballcanada.com today and help the team make us proud. Heck yeah. I would love, actually, you guys can comment that down below if you guys would like to jokingly play along with me. Over under on how many episodes that's going to take me to get down so that I know my uncle, actually, shout out to my uncle, has actually suggested, and I haven't had a chance yet to get out to maybe the dollar store and print up some poster board paper. But how long this is going to take me to get the ad reads down so I don't have to read off of something anymore. I'm definitely going to actually listen to my uncle's advice and kind of try to put it up behind our screen so that it is a little bit more, I guess, pleasing to the viewers, we should say. So yeah, I'm curious how long it's going to be. Comment down below, folks, if you think it's over under 10 more episodes before Cole can just read it off without having to have a notepad to read it off of. I would love for you guys to play along. But as always, shout out to Area 51 Sports. Shout out to the Senior Men's Team Canada as they are about to take off to Europe in a few weeks here to represent. And then if they win, when they win, they will be playing in the big tournament next November, if I'm not mistaken. I will definitely get some details on that, folks, for you. I know last time I said but I wasn't for sure either. But I will get back in touch with my folks at the senior men's national team, and we will see when that tournament is for you guys, so you guys can be updated. But other than that, we continue our CFL prospects series, and before we get into the episode today, we are going to be doing our mock drafts. Are going to be starting to come left and right. We're going to be doing some potentially some post-combine mock drafts. We're definitely going to be having our big annual 3-round mock draft with CFL creators from around the CFL, such as Coach Phil. We're going to have Andrew Hoskins on from the Turf District, Cliffy Pine from Alouette's Flight Deck, hoping to have on fellows like Ben Grant from X's and Argos, and a few others. Mark Steven, of course, Hall of Famer, and a few others that'll be joining us from last year to do a 3-round live mock draft here on the Canadian Football Fanatics channel. You guys aren't going to want to miss that. And we are going to be uploading some mock draft Mondays with 13th Man Football in a collaboration leading up to that. Probably going to be doing every Monday after that mock draft takes place. Looking at the schedule as of now, I think it's going to be probably 2 Mondays that lead up to the draft after we have our annual mock draft, that we can post some mock drafts from Shane and I, just kind of messing around, giving you guys some ideas of how the first few rounds might play out in some different scenarios outside of the mock draft. And yes, the content for the CFL draft, folks, is going to start to kick off and start to get going in a big way, although it already has been. And of course, we're going to be having our BC Lions content from the draft side of things start to pick up even more when we have some guests on in that for them, excuse me. So let's get to the episode today. We're going to be joined by, once again, Keelan White, Vancouver native and University of Montana receiver. Let's send it over to episode 44 right now. Joining me now is University of Montana receiver and proud BC boy, Keelan White. Keelan, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
Doing good. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, man. Of course. So, I know we were chatting before and trying to plan when to record together, and I believe you said you were down in Florida. Do you mind maybe just kind of filling us in what you're doing? I believe you're training down there, and maybe who you're training with.
Yeah, right now. I'm down in Orlando, Florida, training with Dela Cruz Sports Performance for my pro day coming up in April. So, yeah, just down here and just pretty much just training 6 days a week, and my Sunday's my off day. So now we're here talking today. So yeah, training's going pretty good right now. Yeah.
Right on, right on. Because I believe you, if I saw correctly, you graduated last year, so you're kind of diving into football as a professional athlete right now. It's
Yeah,
six
exactly.
days a
Yeah,
week, like you said.
yeah, done now. I graduated last December, and then this past year was my COVID year, so I was just taking just regular classes just so I could stay eligible to play my senior year. And then so I'm done school now, and now I'm down here training, just getting ready for professional football. Exactly.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on, dude. So I'm curious, as I mentioned, you're a proud BC boy, and I'm sure there's a lot of BC kids that are probably watching this, and maybe there's some Montana guys that are hopefully watching this as well. But talk about kind of, being from Vancouver and how proud you are to represent, the city of Vancouver.
Yeah, super proud. I always want to represent where I came from, and I think that's kind of the general theme for us Canadian athletes playing in the NCAA and other American leagues like that is we kind of have that close bond almost so we're always looking out for each other. We're always rooting for each other. things like that. So there's a pretty special, I guess, yeah, like feeling seeing somebody come from where you're from and going to do the best. Like I grew up watching like Chase Claypool, Chuba Hubbard, like those kind of guys who are Canadian guys, and I wanted to, like, I saw them do it, so it kind of made me believe that I could do it as well. So I'm just hoping to be able to be that guy for other young Canadian and BC athletes as well. So yeah.
You most definitely are, buddy. And you talk about kind of seeing those examples, and I'm curious to ask you about one in particular, and that kind of being your father, and just talking about maybe your relationship with your dad, as well as I believe he was a professional. I believe he made it to the CFL as well. So can you just talk about kind of what your dad means to you throughout your journey, and kind of the influence that he kind of maybe had on you in maybe playing football?
Yeah, he's been a pretty big part of my football journey. So yeah, he played in the CFL way before I was born though, so I never really got to see him play. But he would always tell me stories and talk about it, like how he made it and stuff. So, and basically, like, he wanted me to do that same path, but not make some of the mistakes that he made. So he kind of like he knew what he had done wrong and didn't want to see me do those things. And yeah, he's big. He was my coach in the GSL, in the like youth football, all the way up, coach in high school. He was never like my direct coach, but like he coached defense in high school, and then actually my senior year in high school, he ended up being the head coach. But yeah, he's just always been there, by my side, just kind of like pushing me to be the best version of me that I could be and player that I can be. And then he really helped me in my recruiting process as well. So yeah, he's been a pretty nice shoulder to lean on throughout this whole thing.
You talked about your senior year and you attended Handsworth Secondary, and I have a small connection. My dad actually went to Handsworth Secondary as well.
Oh, really?
So
Oh,
shout out to Pops. But
yeah.
I'm curious if you don't mind me talking about kind of playing for Handsworth and just kind of your experience. It's a lot different than I'm sure you going down to Montana and seeing some high school football down there, and kind of your experiences up here, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I played my I played grade 8 and grade 9 at Windsor. Actually, I started there, and then yeah, so we won the Subway Bowl, JV Subway Bowl in grade 9, and then that next year, like, we had a bunch of grade 10s on our team, so that next year our JV team didn't have enough players because we had a bunch of grade 10s the year before, and I really wanted to play another year of JV, and I didn't want to go straight into varsity. So actually, my dad ended up moving. Not like the way it worked out is he was living up near Handsworth, like he moved up there, and so he's like, well, you could go up here and play another year JV. So that's what we did, and I ended up moving to Handsworth, played grade 10 up there, and then 11 and 12. So yeah, it was definitely interesting, because like seeing the football, like the high school football in Montana, it's like it's not much different in terms of like competition, I would say. Like football is football, right? But like there's more of an investment in it, I would say, rather than like North Shore High School football. Like our roster, my senior year was like 25 kids or something like that, and like they're getting like even though they may not be like the best, they're getting full rosters of like 50-60 kids down in the States. So it's like it's just there's more of an investment that goes into the high school football for sure down there, and it's more of a seamless transition from high school to college. Like they do everything, like they have all the high school coaches will come out to our practices and stuff and like watch our practices, and then they can then go back to their high schools and do the same things we do. So then when the recruits come in, the new guys, then they're like ready to go almost, because they've kind of been running that system, the same system as the colleges. So it was kind of interesting to see that like process of how they go from high school to college up there down there. So yeah, it was cool.
Interesting. So I know you've been a part of some pretty cool rivalries, especially down there in Montana, but you've had the pleasure of being a part of I see you're smiling already, the Buchanan Bowl, which is a big
Yeah.
rivalry up here. And I'm sure you can maybe kind of fill in some people that are hopefully watching from Montana that maybe don't know what that is, and how that rivalry is between the Carson Graham Eagles and your Handsworth team. Talk about your experience at playing in that rivalry game.
Yeah, I mean, like that rivalry game, I wouldn't say it compares to the Brawl of the Wild, but like that was our Brawl of the Wild in high school. Like that was the biggest like crosstown rivalry every year. It was like something that everybody looked forward to. to play in. And yeah, it was I was only part of, I think, yeah, just three of them, but it was a pretty fun time playing in those, seeing all the students come out and cheer for you and stuff like that. So that was pretty fun to play in for sure. But yeah, it was cool.
You mentioned playing in three of them. I believe there's a long history. I think it's up to like
Oh yeah,
30 something now, which is crazy, right? Something that you don't really
yeah,
see
I
in
think
kind
it's
of
higher than that. Like they've been playing that game for a really long time.
really,
So
hey, and so,
yeah,
something that's just unique to Canada. You don't see kind of some of those games. I know there's a border battle here on the island. It's not quite as maybe the atmosphere is kind of seeing some of the clips from the Carson Graham stuff, but I'm
yeah,
sure it kind of adds to playing high school football even that much more. Of like you said, the schools coming out, the pride that you want to put on, and come to class Monday morning and everybody's talking about the big win on Friday and stuff like that.
exactly.
So super cool experiences, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Um, but with that, Keelan, you also have represented or been lucky enough to represent, our province and Team Canada. Can you just
Mhm.
talk about kind of the experiences there with, the maybe the different events that you played in for Team BC as well as Team Canada?
Yeah, Team BC was really cool. Probably, yeah, Team BC is really cool because like you get to all those guys you play against in high school, those good players from each team. Like, when you're going to play another school, you're like, oh, they have so and so or whatever. He's really good. They have so and so. You're then um, playing with them um, in Team BC and going to play against like another province. So that's the pretty cool aspect because it's like all the best players from those schools, and you get to team up and go compete against the rest of the country, and hopefully win a national championship like that, because like that tournament, that Canada Cup tournament, is a really cool experience as well. Because there's like there's a ton of exposure out there. All the Canadian universities go out to watch that, and you get to talk to a whole bunch of coaches, meet a whole bunch of cool people. So yeah, that's awesome. And then from there, you get to hopefully get picked for Team Canada. So the top 40 from there get picked for Team Canada, and then you go down and play against the States for some more exposure. So it's a really cool kind of pipeline or uh, thread of events that goes on there if you can manage to do them all. So yeah, it's a really cool experience for sure.
And if you don't mind, I know, Keelan, you've kind of tried to be an advocate for this of like the talent level that is up here, just maybe not as noticed because of kind of some, you know, stuff like this. Media is so much bigger in the States of,
Yeah,
covering high school football and whatnot. Talk about some of the players you're able to play with. I don't know if you played with like Jonathan Senecal, I believe was a Team Canada representative, and like the Phil Potts and stuff
yeah,
like that. And just some of the very talented guys that we're seeing now in the CFL that were on some of those teams.
yeah. Played with Flip Potts, played with all sorts of guys, and it's just like we have the talent, we have the guys that can like do that. Like there's guys who've gone from Canada into the big leagues, and it's just kind of I'd say like there's not that much like there's in the States there's the same, but like they just have more. It's like more depth almost if you think about it that way. Like we have that starting roster that we could put together, but like the States could put together like 3 or 4, 5 teams if they wanted to. But yeah, it's like we have those. I played with the Phil Potts, Nick Senecal. He's at University of Hawaii. I played with him in on Team Canada. Um, who else did I play with? I played with a whole bunch of guys. Michael Calvert. Yeah, it's hard to pick out names, but like everyone who I played with on like Team BC, like Nolan Alm, who's from Kelowna. He's down at Eastern Washington. We've gone against each other for the past 3 or 4 years. When Montana played Eastern Washington, I played with him on Team BC. So there's just like there's talent out there. It's just kind of like diamonds in the rough almost in terms of the bigger picture of the Canadian football. So, but that's one thing that I've been an advocate for, and same with Nolan is we had that can't make it happen. Is we're trying to develop these younger kids, so that they have that ability to show off their talent and work ethic and skills, and so that there's more of that in Canada for sure. Yeah.
Really well said there, Keelan. So I'm curious with, um, you know, I mentioned I'm a BC boy myself. I'm actually class of 2015. I believe you're 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
Uh,
So
2019. 2019.
2019,
Yeah.
excuse me. Um, you were kind of right in the middle of, I feel like, the 7-on-7 scene really starting to pick up and starting to get momentum up here. And
Mhm.
can you just maybe talk about what the Game Ready Elite family means to you and your journey?
Yeah, Game Ready was huge. Probably without Game Ready, I wouldn't be where I am today for sure, like hands down, because that was, yeah, like you said, it was like right almost like in the middle or like the beginning of the boom of 7-on-7. So they had started a year before I joined, and that was kind of like just getting into it. And then the year I came in was that year after, and that was like the first year that 7-on-7 was like really big. And um, that was also when I had just made my switch to receiver, so I wanted to get my skills better and get better at receiver. And so yeah, just being with them is a great development just for non-padded work, like just pure skill work. If you're trying to just master your craft, that is a perfect place to be. And they go down and compete against these American teams, and you get to actually see for yourself. And like the biggest thing is you go down there and you're like, whoa, I like these guys aren't like superhuman. They're not anything. They're not crazy. Like they're not super soldiers or nothing. Like they're the same. We're the same people. We're the same players, and you learn that you can actually compete against and beat some. Like we won a couple tournaments. We finished top 8 in the biggest tournament in Vegas. So you get that realization of like, yeah, I can hang and play with these guys, and then you build up your confidence more just to so you can be better as a player. So yeah.
Yeah, man, really well said. And like I was saying there, I kind of there was, I believe, like Air Raid was around when I was in high school and stuff like that. But then you started to see, I believe, like Corey Philpott started to make some teams and stuff like that, and it really started to pick up.
Yeah.
I'm curious. You already kind of mentioned of some of your teammates that you played with and kind of were able to play on with both teams, the Philpotts,
Mhm.
but some of the other guys that you were able to kind of be. You touched on a little bit of kind of like the first group of establishing that game ready program of going down there, kind of being like putting that program on the map to be taken seriously. Can you
Yeah.
talk about kind of the experience and exposure of like going down to Las Vegas and stuff like that? And you already kind of were alluding to a little bit there, but just kind of how that helped you grow a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a really, yeah. Speaking to that group, that was a really good group of players we had. It was, yeah, like me, Gideon Kremler was our quarterback, Jaden Simon, Caden Lilly, Devin O'Hay, um, Trey Jones as well was playing with us, and like that was a really good group of players we had that we went down and yeah, we went down to Vegas, which was the biggest, like the mecca they call it, of 7-on-7 tournaments, and we ended up finishing in the top 8 in that tournament against some uh, pretty good teams. Tucson Turf, Bishop Gorman was down there with Tate Bartel. So yeah, there was some pretty big names, and like you get really good exposure, but also yeah, like I said, at the same time, like you realize like that we can hang with these some of these American teams. So yeah. Yeah.
So with that exposure, if you don't mind, Keelan, just kind of taking us through your recruiting process, and it was a very unique one, and you end up, I believe, committing to UBC. But from there, can you kind of just kind of fill in some of the blanks and take us through that? I'm sure it was a very interesting one for you.
Yeah, so playing with Team BC and playing the Canada Cup, I was able to get offers from almost every school in the youth sports realm, other than a few. But like, yeah, it offers pretty much all over Canada. And I really wanted to. I knew that, like, in playing in the 7-on-7, like, yeah, I can play against these guys. So like, I knew I'm like, I want to try to go play NCAA. Like, I could probably play D1 somewhere. I don't know. That was my goal. But yeah, you always gotta have a goal, and you gotta like shoot for the stars, land on the moon type thing. If you don't make it there, but like always gotta have that goal for yourself and bet on yourself. So I was like, yeah, I want to go play D1 football, and because I realized I could because of playing on 7-on-7. And yeah, so I was talking to all these schools in Canada, and all of them said like, well, not said, but like they were pretty much like, just just come here first, and then maybe you could explore something in the States later, which is a load of, excuse my language, a load of shit, because they just wanted me to go to their school. But UBC was the only one that was like, yeah, no, we see your potential. We see like you definitely could like play down there if you tried. So commit to us, and then you can have your American recruitment. Oh, like you can go explore American recruitment, and if anything doesn't work out, you can always come back. Like you always have a spot here if you commit to us. So I was like, that's a great idea, and like I'm super grateful for that. So that's what I did. I committed to UBC, and then just focused on getting recruited in the American schools, which was really tough because they, like, again, with our competition, they don't really know, like, even though that like I've said, like, we have that talent in that competition, but they don't know that. They don't really respect it, and they don't, like, I mean, talking to these coaches, like they have to keep they have jobs too, so they can't like go to their head coach and be like, hey, I got this Canadian kid, like, we know nothing about, but let's give him a scholarship. Like, that's never gonna, unless you're like a Chase Claypool type guy, like a total freak, like just an average sized receiver like me, like they're not really going to take that chance. So I was just trying to get any school I could to take a chance on me. And like like I would go to these camps. I mean, like the receiver coaches and the position coach would be like, yeah, we really like you, but like I can't really give you an offer or get my head coach to offer you just because you're Canadian and stuff. So, which was a real bummer, because I was just an average sized kid, and like they could just go to their local high school and find another 6 foot, 175 pound receiver, and, you know, recruit him because they know his competition. They know who he's playing against. So it was really hard to do. And then I ended up getting, a DM on Twitter after going to all these camps. Like, somebody liked my film, and it was Montana. And yeah, they just, the receiver coach at the time really believed in me and was like, he's like, I'm gonna have your back, and I believe you can do this. So like, you want to find that guy who's going to trust you enough to do that, which was, I'm grateful for that. And yeah, he's like, I believe in you. You can come as a walk on and hopefully earn a scholarship after that, which you definitely will, as long as you work hard and, you know, bet on yourself and stuff like that. So I took that walk on chance, and I ended up earning a scholarship after my first year. And then, yeah, the rest is, here I am now 6 years later with,
So
here I am now 6 years later, being in the top 15 all-time receiving yards and top 15 all-time touchdowns in school history, and with a school record on top of it for longest touchdown. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
heck yeah, bro. That's great.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, Keelan, that's got to be a very difficult time, right? Like, you're
Yeah.
believing in yourself. I'm sure your family's believing in yourself, that, and like you said, right, you had the experience of going down there, seeing that you can compete. Take us
Mhm.
kind of through that time of like knowing you're good enough to compete, but teams are kind of continuously telling you, like, you know, we're good right now. We can kind of, like you said, find another receiver somewhere else, and kind of just continuing to believe in yourself that you're going to find a home somewhere.
Yeah. It was hard. There was definitely some times where we had that conversation of like, maybe we should just go to UBC and then see if we can go to NCAA or something like that later. Or there was some talk of like, well, maybe we could go to prep school and take a few years in prep school before going, or like JUCO. Like, there was all like, definitely some doubt was creeping in of like, we need to find some other options. I mean, it's always good to have a backup plan too as well. Like, you should not put all your eggs in one basket, because it's definitely good to explore the other options. But yeah, there's definitely some like, damn, maybe we're gonna have to do this. Damn, maybe we're gonna have to do that. But yeah, it was tough. But like, I knew that like, if somebody just gave me a chance, I would show them, because like I was going to these camps and I was like going against some of the school's top recruits, and I was like beating them. So I'm like, look at me, like, please, like, give me a chance here. So, and then it was good to finally, it felt really amazing to finally get that chance after all that. So yeah.
I'm sure you're kind of like asking yourself, like, why isn't this obvious to anybody else besides me?
Yeah,
What,
exactly.
which is,
You're gonna have that feeling of like, but you can't let that, you can't like say that, you know what I mean? Like you can't go to a coach and be like why is it like that? This, but like you got to be respectful. You got to be, humble enough to just go out and show it on the field, and then if they don't take it, they don't take it. Like you got to respect their jobs as well and stuff like that. But yeah, it was definitely that inner feeling of like, why is no one seeing this? So yeah, for
you,
sure.
you clearly got the right mindset though, Keelan, for sure. So I'm curious if you don't mind. There's this legendary story, and you end up committing, like you said, to Montana or signing with Montana.
Yeah.
You could have, I'm sure, found any other home, and maybe just talk about that legendary kind of story of I believe a coach came to Handsworth and why you ended up in Montana.
Yeah, so that was pretty crazy. I don't know if it's fully NCAA legal, but because you're not really supposed to work kids out when you go visit them. But um, anyways, he came out. I got a DM from the running, because I had gone down to a camp in some D2 school. I had gone to a camp, and there was a Montana coach there, and so I got his card, and I ended up hitting him up on, like, emailed him, Twitter, my film, and then he ended up messaging me back like a while. Like that was in the summer, and then this was all the way in February, close to their second signing day. So yeah, I was in the camp in the summer, and then way in like February, close to their second, or not the second signing day. This was December of their first signing day, right before their first signing day. And he came and he hit me up on Twitter and was like, "Hey, we have a coach. There's a coach in the Seattle area doing some recruiting, and we like your film. So he's wondering if he can come up and talk to you." So, which is like Seattle, right across the border from North Vancouver. I was like, "Yeah, yes, of course." So yeah, he comes to the school like middle of the school day. I thought we were just gonna talk, and we had a conversation in the principal's office of like, he said we have two receivers offered right now, but if none of them take it, like I could potentially have it, like, but he needed to know more. He needed to know like my work ethic, like what kind of guy I was. So he's kind of getting to know me, but he kind of gave me the situation. And then like near the end of the talk, he was sitting there and he was kind of like, "Do you have your cleats on you?" And I was like, yeah. They're in the locker room. And he's like, "Go get them. We'll go out in the field, run some, I want to see you run some routes." And I was like, okay. Like, I don't have any, like, I didn't have shorts. I didn't have nothing. Like, I was in like literally joggers and t-shirt. And he's like, "Yo, go grab your cleats." So I went and grabbed my cleats. We ran out, and it was like December, so the field is like frozen. Like it's like the frozen, like super cold December day, and I'm out there in joggers and my t-shirt. And he's like, just take a few steps off the ball, like run hits. Like he just wanted to see some like basics type things. And yeah, and he after that like ran me like maybe like 4 or 5 routes I ran through. And he's like, "Okay, stop, this enough," because there was some, yeah, he's just like, "Stop." And then he's like, "Yeah, no, like you're like, I like you. You're as good as some of the guys that I've been looking at, and like you could definitely walk on, or definitely have a spot on our team. We just need to make some room and stuff." So he ended up, they had some room on the roster for me, and the two guys who had the scholarships ended up taking their scholarships. But he was like, "But you can still come as a walk on and probably definitely earn a scholarship if you do well enough." So I ended up taking that chance, going down there, walking on. I had no idea anything about Montana. I had not taken a visit. I had not been there at all. Like I did no idea where I was going. I figured Montana like must be the middle of nowhere. Um, but when I got there, like Missoula is a beautiful place. It's a very small college town, but like they have a lot of passion for the football team. Um, yeah, went through fall camp. Went up and up on the depth chart throughout fall camp, and then I think it was week 4 of that my first year. One of the starting slots had got injured, so the backup was in, and they needed another backup, so they pulled me up to the second team, and I was running with the twos in my true freshman year as a walk on without a scholarship. So I ended up dressing in a game over those two guys who had scholarships in me. And then, yeah, by the end of that season, I had, got a scholarship. So yeah, pretty crazy story.
What a journey, buddy. That is crazy, and not one you hear too often. So that's got to even make you more proud of the journey when you look back at it. I'm sure even more proud. So I'm curious with that, being a Canadian kid, you end up coming to a place, like you said, kind of very unfamiliar territory. And, university is much different than high school, as I'm sure we're both, aware now. How was that transition for you being a Canadian kid? You come away from home, mom and dad aren't there, and, you're playing university football, balancing football, class, and all that sort of stuff. How was that transition for you at that time?
Yeah, it was definitely tough coming into that kind of environment. Like I was just a 17-year-old kid because my birthday's in October, so I didn't turn 18 yet. So I was 17, going to live by myself in a dorm, and yeah, like going to college, like going to class. Like I was so focused on the football aspect that I kind of lost the class part, which you can't really do. Like you got to be a student athlete, but I was kind of so overwhelmed in that kind of thing because you're coming in. I was 17. Some of these guys are 22, 23 years old, and that environment's pretty crazy. So yeah, it was definitely hard. You have to learn how to time manage for sure. That I was not good. I was not good at time managing because by the end of that first semester, my grades were not the best. So I ended up not getting my scholarship after that first semester because of that, because I focused so much on football that I forgot about the classroom. So yeah, I had to pick my grades up in the spring. And then after I picked my grades up in the spring, I got the scholarship after that. But yeah, it was definitely hard to manage class, football, study hall. Like we had to go to study hall 8 hours a week as well. So, and then sleep, like freshmen get up at 5:45 a.m. every morning to lift. That's the freshman time to lift. So like you get up at five in the morning, go to lift, and then after lift, you're going straight to class. You go to class all day, and then your classroom till 2 p.m. and then 2 p.m. is your 2:30 is your team meeting. Then you go straight to your team meeting. Then you're in position meetings, watching film, getting ready for practice. You go through practice. You're done at 6. Then you got to go to study hall for 2 hours at night because you have to get 8 hours in the week. So you got to go 2 hours at night. You don't get back to your dorm until 8, 9 at night. And then you got to go straight to sleep because you got to get up at 5 in the morning and do it all over again. So it's just a crazy, it's a crazy thing that you got to get used to.
The grind of being a student athlete, man. I couldn't imagine, like you said, the time management skills that have to come with that. I tip my cap to you even more for the journey and how you've made it this far as well. But so with that, you mentioned of kind of the college atmosphere that is the town, and something that's probably a little bit of an adjustment as well is playing in a stadium that Montana is lucky enough to play in. The atmosphere that comes with that, and I believe it's like 25K capacity in there, and I'm sure you're familiar going to BC Lions games. The Lions are kind of sometimes lucky to get as many people into BC Place for regular season games. So I'm curious with being a BC kid and having experiences playing BC high school football. Sometimes if you don't go to Van College or maybe Mount Doggett, a lot of time it's kind of like parents watching in the stands, and then you go to being a Division I athlete. You're playing in front of that atmosphere. Just talk about what that was for you. I'm sure wide-eyed, bushy tail, like you said, 17-year-old young kid. You're like, man, this is unbelievable. Everything I've dreamed about of being a kind of Division I athlete. Can you just talk about kind of some of those atmospheres that I'm sure kind of replay in your head from time to time?
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm getting goosebumps just you saying that. Like that part of that was the craziest experience. Like I'll never forget. Like because freshman, my first couple games, we didn't dress because we're red shirts, so we weren't dressing. But when I ended up dressing later, but that first time I walked in that stadium, walking down onto the field for pregame warmups, and being in BC high school when you're getting maybe 6 parents out to the game, or it was just insane. And for the first before the kickoff, one side goes Montana and the other side says Grizzlies, just back and forth, just so loud. And I think our stadium's it's even though it's only 25K, we're in the top 10 for loudest stadiums in the country, just how it is built. Because I think for the NDSU game, that we played, that semifinal, we got to like 117 decibels or something like that, which is like just below Penn State, like the whiteout type stuff. Like it's loud in there, just the way it's built and on the side of the mountain, the way the sound reflects back off. Like it's a really loud stadium. And I mean, yeah, probably the first time that it really hit me was we were playing number 4 Weber State came in to play us, and we were ranked like 15th or something, and number 4 came in, and our stadium was just packed. Like it was 25K, but there was about 30,000 people in there, like that kind of thing. And our defense, we kicked the ball off, so our defense went on the field first. And I can't remember who was standing next to me, but one of my teams was standing next to me, and he was trying to say something to me, and his mouth was moving, but I couldn't hear anything that was coming out of his mouth. So I was just like, wow, it is loud in here. And yeah, just craziness in there. And I mean, for such a small town, that place turns into the biggest, I think it turns into like the 3rd largest city in the state on game day, just based on that stadium and everyone who cares about that football team. So yeah, it's an amazing community. They love their football down there. Even like the fans, like you'll be walking on the street and they'll be like, "You play Montana football?" Like, oh, like they really care about, because like they have no pro team or anything out there. Like Montana football is their football. So yeah, it's just an awesome place to be, and it was just a life-changing experience for sure. Yeah. Wait, I can't hear you.
My fault, Keelan. I'm muted myself, but I couldn't imagine some of those experiences, buddy, and being in some of those atmospheres, like you said, going from BC high school football to like right into that. It was just, I'm sure, unbelievable. So I'm curious with that. You get there, you say that you sign as a walk-on, and the faith that that takes to kind of believe in yourself. Can you just talk about like the work that you put in to go from a walk-on, you get into you go through the COVID experience, you come out of it, and you start to kind of get into being a meaningful contributor on the team. I believe that 2022 season you had four or five touchdowns and stuff like that. Can you just talk about kind of the work that you kind of put in, and just kind of put your head down and went to work simply?
Yeah, and yeah, for sure. That's another thing, testament to Game Ready for being a part of my football journey, because they taught me like hard work pays off. Like whatever you put your mind to or put your work to, like it will pay off as long as you work hard. So I mean, I kind of took that in, and that really resonated with me. And as much as like whatever, when I went down there, I'm like, I'm just gonna work my ass off. I'm just gonna work as hard as I can. I'm gonna be as coachable as I can. Yeah, and that, I think that the rest of my career shows just to that, just is a testament to that, of being humble and not like gloating or anything, not being like whatever, but like just putting your head down and going to work. And that's pretty much what I did for all 6 years. Even like going into my senior year, I still told myself like, I'm still that freshman kid with no scholarship. I'm not gonna take any of this for granted. I'm still gonna work my ass off and be the best I can be. So like, even scholarship and whatever, all the accolades later, like going into that senior year, I was like, I'm still the same kid coming in as a freshman. And I'm just gonna work as hard as I did then. And yeah, that's what I did. So yeah, it's definitely a testament to my hard work for sure. Yeah.
Great attitude to have, man. Some of these answers, you could tell that your head's definitely screwed on correctly. So I'm curious with that, if you don't mind maybe talking about a few of your highlighted plays kind of throughout your career and some of the memories that you've been able to make. And
Yeah, for
starting
sure.
with one of, you mentioned of, the longest, I believe, career reception in program history, the 97-yarder. And if you don't mind, I've been kind of asking all the prospects that I've been having on, kind of just taking us behind the visor into your cleats of kind of what was going through that play and kind of what you saw. So if you don't mind, kind of the Sac State one, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
just kind of taking us through that and kind of what your memories are from that.
Yeah, that was an interesting game, because I had not gotten much earlier in the game. I think that was in the fourth quarter with like 7 minutes left or something. But I not got a lot of action that game. Which happens, like just the way the defense, like the way our offense was, and the way like defenses played us. Like we had so many weapons that like there was always a chance for someone to go off each game. So like some nights some days it just wasn't you, and sometimes like the ball went somewhere else all the time. Like, and see that didn't really faze me that much, but yeah, I hadn't got a lot of action. I was just trying to block when I could, do the best I could, and then I remembered there was this one look from earlier in the first quarter. We had this out to the boundary. It's like an out go concept. So the outside guy runs a go, inside guy runs it out. And Junior Bergen was playing the slot, so he drew a lot of attention. And earlier in the first quarter, we ran that to the boundary, and they ran this quarters coverage, but the corner kind of like sat on the out, like kind of jumped it a little bit, and I was able to get over the top, and the safety was behind on getting over to me. So I had noticed that in the first quarter, and I told, like, we were on the sideline. I told my quarterback and the receiver coach, because after every series you come off and you reconvene. I told him, I was like, hey, if we run that again to the boundary, pump the out and then look over the top to me, because that corner is sitting on the out. So we didn't run it until we were backed up we were on our 3-yard line. They ended up punting. Yeah, they punted the ball and it like rolled all the way down to the 1-yard line, because they were standing there like waving it in the end zone and stuff, and like just being dicks about it. And so we ran the ball out to the 3, got a little space, and then we called the play, and I looked at our quarterback. I was like, do it, like pump this. So we running out, go to the boundary, and he pumped the out, corner jumped it. Safety was way late getting over the top, and he just put it way out in front, and I was down the sideline. I had to I had to do a little high step to make the corner miss, but after that, 97 yards. I didn't even realize it was a school record. I was just trying to score, and at that point, we needed to score to go up. That was to go up 2 scores, and pretty much that was the dagger for the game. So just whenever your opportunity comes, you got to make that count. So,
Absolutely. So I'm curious, Keelan, if you don't mind taking us into another memory of yours, and we talked about the rivalry games, and the Buchanan Bowl maybe isn't quite the Brawl of the Wild. If you don't mind kind of taking us into what that means to Montana, the Montana State-Montana rivalry, and being able to beat them in a Big Sky championship.
Yeah, that was amazing. That rivalry is special to a lot of Montanans. Most guys, like, coming in, they learn pretty quick of what that means, because that's all people talk about. Like, you could have the worst season, like you could lose every game, but if you beat the rivals, it's a good season type thing in the fans' eyes. Not obviously team, but like in the fans' eyes, we could have the worst season and beat the rivals, and then that's a good season. So that is definitely something that they hold near and dear to their heart. And Montana, we're up 74 on that, 74 to 45 or something on them. So in all-time record. So they've had the couple wins last couple years, but I mean overall we're way ahead. And coming down to that game, and that was the first time it was ever a top 5 matchup, a top 5 ranked matchup. Like, we were 2, they were 3, I think, or 4 in our stadium, and that was just an electric atmosphere again. Craziness, and we just came out and gave them an ass whooping, really, like 37-7, and it was just awesome to do that in our stadium in front of our fans and beat the rivals. It was awesome.
BTA, belt to ass. I love it, buddy. So I'm curious, another memory, if you don't mind talking about, that sent you guys to a national title game, the 2-point conversion versus North Dakota State, and kind of what was going on in that play, kind of a trick play that's drawn up, and I'm sure not the way it was drawn up at practice, or maybe executed at practice, and just take us through what a wild experience I'm sure that was.
Yeah, that game too. That game, the conference championship game and that game were 2 atmospheres I'll never forget. Like, those atmospheres were just insane. You could feel it in the stadium. I don't know how to explain it, but you could feel the tension of everyone in the stadium. Just like whenever a big play would happen, the place would just blow up. Like, I think I had a pretty big catch earlier in the first quarter, in our first drive, and you could just feel the energy. And so that came down to the 2-point plays in overtime. Overtime sucks. Nobody likes overtime, to be honest, because it could go either way. But yeah, that was pretty insane. Like, you practice 2-point plays all year. Like, we have a period in practice where we practice our 2-point plays just in case it comes down to that. And yeah, that was a 2-point play that we've used before. We used it twice before, and it worked both times. It's designed. Junior, or the slot, comes around, gets the pitch, and then like fake like he's gonna run it, and the receiver on that side fakes the block, and then if the corner goes to get him, then he goes through, and then for the pass. So it's designed for the strong side receiver, and you know, for whatever, not for, I mean, like we lined up, and then we ended up calling a timeout because we had the wrong personnel in. And then at that point, I got super nervous. Like, I was standing next to Junior, and I'm like, they know what we're doing. Like, this is not going to work. There's no way this is going to work. They know what we're doing. And then he's talking to me, and he was like, because I'm the backside guy, and I'm just running deep over. And he's like, hey, be ready back there because I might have to throw it to you. And I'm like, my response back to him was, just run it if you have to, because I did not want him to throw me the ball. I was like, this needs to work, but they know exactly what we're doing. So I told him, like, just run it if you have to. And he looked at me and kind of laughed. And yeah, so we ran the play, and he ended up getting they came off, blitzed off that edge. Like, he had to make a guy miss. He ended up getting face masked. I didn't see a face mask. Like, I was in the back of the end zone just trying to find his eyes. Like, I'm like, just give me your eyes. Just give me your, like, I just want to see where he's at. And we ended up like locking eyes in this like alley of people, like lane of people, and he just flung this thing at, like, threw as hard as he could at me. And I didn't see the face mask, so I'm like, I have to catch this thing. Like, this is do or die right now. And I could see these. It was almost like I can see it now. It's almost like slow motion. There's two defenders like going up to like tip the ball. I'm like, this is gonna get tipped. So I had to like set myself up, and sure enough, it got tipped. Bounced right over a guy, and I just threw my hands up, and it just stuck in my hands, and I just held on to it and went to the ground. And that was, yeah. And then I could again feel the energy in the stadium, just like, yeah. I was like, oh my, it's a great feeling. Great feeling. Yeah.
I could only imagine being in your shoes, buddy, and you're the only one that can experience that. And just like you said, the energy from just the fans and everybody that was in attendance there. I'm
Yeah.
curious. I'm sure you've been asked this, or you've actually probably told this multiple times. But I'm curious.
Yeah.
Being a big Spider-Man guy myself,
Yeah.
where does the Spider-Man Sellies persona, whatever you want to call it, kind of come from?
Yeah. So I mean, I've always been a little bit of a nerd. Like, it's like Spider-Man, video games, superhero movies. Like, I kind of identify with that side. So yeah, I mean, Spider-Man's favorite superhero, and it kind of fits with me a little bit because, like, my whole life, like, I've kind of been, like, I'm trying to be humble, but like I'm kind of good at like anything that I try. So like anything that's like athletically, whatever I'm like kind of good at. It's like, especially catching. But that's like when I realized I was a receiver. Like, I was running back up until grade 11, and then I realized I was like, I can actually catch this thing pretty well, and like I pride myself on like making tough catches. And like when I was a kid, I was like, watch this, like I can do this, watch this, like, so like I'm like kind of have that side to me, but I don't like try to bring it out a whole lot. So I kind of use the Spider-Man of like, yeah, look, I'm basically Spider-Man. Like, I could catch all these, like I could do this stuff. So yeah, that's kind of where that came from. And I mean, I saw Kyler Gordon do it in fall for the Bears. I saw him do that celebration on like a TikTok or something in fall camp, and I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. I might start doing that because I'm like, that's perfect because it fits me. Like, I'm basically Spider-Man. So yeah, like jokingly, like I'm Spider-Man, but like it kind of gave me that identity on the field, if that makes sense, of like having fun, but also like something that was unique to me that made me stand out a little bit, I guess. So yeah, it was just something to have fun with, something to, give myself some identity, some confidence as well. Like, balls in the air, like I'm going to get this, I'm Spider-Man type thing. I don't know. I'm a little bit weird guy for that, but I mean, it's cool to me, so I don't really care what anybody else thinks.
No, I love it, buddy. It's even more. It's cool to hear you say like you don't care what everyone else sees either. It's kind of a cool thing. Like I said, I'm a big Spidey guy, so when I kind of saw this and was researching for it, was pretty cool thing to kind of follow along, man. And some of the cool videos and clips that you've got throughout your career is pretty cool thing. So
Yeah, and
I'm curious
I
now
especially
that
think,
you're
sorry, one more thing. I
no
especially
go.
think like it showed in that playoff run that we had of like some of the catches I made in that run, like the 2 point catch, for example, is like stuck to my hands. Like there was early in the playoffs, snow game. I just down the sideline, I threw my hands up there, perfect ball. But like it just kind of like it kind of fit some of the catches that I made in that playoff run, which kind of cemented that, that Spider-Man persona in there. So yeah.
You got you had your Peter Tingle versus North Dakota State. You knew it was gonna be tipped up. So I
Exactly.
I love that, buddy. That's great. I like I said, I'm a big Spidey guy myself, big Marvel fan, so I had to get that in there.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, Keelan. Last couple for you, buddy. I know you're a busy guy and don't
No,
want
no,
to keep
don't
you
worry.
too much longer.
This is my Sunday. I got nothing to do really.
That's great then. So I'm curious now. You're kind of at that point, and it's a tough one to kind of ask now because I know it's so fresh still in your mind and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
when you look back at it now, man, like you should be really proud of yourself. And kind of how proud are you when you look back at your journey of, going from a walk on to, earning yourself a full athletic scholarship at a Division 1. And as you kind of touched on earlier, of like now you're the physical example for kids that are growing up in BC, as you mentioned, like the Chase Claypools, the Chuba Hubbards and stuff like that. You
Mhm.
mentioned like your teammates, excuse me, guys that you were familiar with, like Nolan, like Ty Benefield, BC guys that went down to
I
Division
know
One.
good as well. Yeah.
We're seeing guys now with yourself being recognized in the CFL Scouting Bureau, the top 20. Uh, Jackson, another BC guy.
Right.
Nate Boschman, another BC guy.
Mhm.
Three of the top 20 guys are BC guys, which is super cool, and I think should give you guys a lot of pride. Where a lot of times we're hearing Ontario kids are kind of the more dominant in football and stuff like that. So I'm just curious of like kind of now that you look back at your journey, I'm sure it's got to kind of fill you with a lot of pride. Although I know it's still so fresh. Does it kind of has that happened for you yet, or maybe it's maybe a thing that you can maybe appreciate more in the future?
No, yeah, it's definitely happened. It kind of hit me. I mean, that last game of the season against South Dakota State, like we were going through, we were losing, but like I was still playing. Like, we were playing all the seniors, and there was a couple drives there that I was in, and I was like, like just thinking back and just having fun. I was just having fun with it. Really, like it was the most fun I've ever had playing football was that time. I don't know why, just because I was thinking of all the times, all the hard work I had to do, and yeah, I'm definitely proud of where I came from because like not a lot of people can do that. But I mean, I'm a really big advocate for it's hard but not impossible. So like I think I'm that perfect example of like yeah it can be the hardest it can be like it was for me, but it's not impossible. Like if you work hard and bet on yourself, it will still work out. So yeah, I try like there's kids that DM me all the time and ask me like questions like, and I'm super open to answering and trying to help them like do this, do that. This is what I did. Don't get down if this doesn't happen. Like always have a backup plan. Like so I'm definitely a really big advocate for helping BC players because I mean I think I've always thought that BC like we have some of the best talent in Canada for sure. And there's just it's hard to showcase that, and I really want to be able to showcase the talent we have in BC with some of these guys. So yeah, I'm always trying to help some younger athletes get the recognition they deserve, I guess. So yeah, super proud of where I came from and what I was able to do, and yeah, it's awesome.
Love that, dude. And as you mentioned, you're kind of already doing that with like, the make it happen camps and stuff like that, and kind of being an example for the kids. So I'm curious as we get into the last few here for you, Keelan, the
Mhm.
transition to the next chapter for you. If you don't mind, there's probably maybe some hopefully in the future some maybe CFL, NFL fans that are tuning in and want to get to know who this Keelan White guy is who's joining our team. So I'm curious if you don't mind, maybe for the people that aren't aware, if you kind of maybe just describe your game. Like to me, you're kind of like a a very shifty player. When you get the ball in your hands, you're a very dangerous threat. So can you just maybe describe your game for kind of the fans that maybe aren't aware for your?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a very, I'd say, intelligent route runner. I'm very, you know, I can win in 1-on-1. I can create separation, but also like zone coverage. Like I'm very intelligent with my stems, where I need to get to, where I am in the progression of the play. That's one thing that um, our my receiver coach back in Montana did a very good job at teaching us was, you can be a really good athlete and all this, but you got to have a high football IQ as well. So I pride myself on having a high football IQ, and yeah, I know how to get open. I'm a really good receiver in that aspect. I know how to get open. I attack the ball in the air. I can go get it wherever it's at, um, and I think I've shown that as well. And yeah, just overall, I'm just a workhorse type guy. I'm just gonna work hard. Like if I don't know something, if I don't know how to do something, I'm gonna work my ass off to figure out how to do it and um, fix my mistakes, I guess. So I'm a little bit of perfectionist in that aspect too. So yeah, just workhorse, know how to get open, high football IQ type guy. Yeah.
So with that, Keelan, your process here the next few weeks leading up into the draft is going to be a little bit different than most prospects. And if you don't mind, like we said and earlier on in the episode, you're down in Florida right now training. Can you just kind of fill us in with your plan? I believe you're going to be hosting your own pro day and stuff like that, and just kind of take us through the next few weeks for you leading up until your pro day and then into the draft.
Yeah. So yeah, my pro day or Montana's pro day is on April 3rd. So there'll be a bunch of guys out there from this past season. So a couple of receivers, quarterbacks, some defensive guys as well that are going to be there. So yeah, I'm going to be at the pro day. Going to do my um, 40, all the drills they do at like all the other combine drills, and yeah, hopefully put up some good numbers there, and yeah, and then go into the NFL and CFL drafts, and hopefully, I get a call from an NFL team and get invited to a camp of some sort, or I mean, my goal, obviously, again, shoot for the stars. My goal is to get into the NFL, so I'm hoping to put down some good numbers on the pro day, get a call from NFL team, and then I mean, again, backup plan if that doesn't work out. I'd really like to play in the CFL as well. I'm not backup plan, but like I've got plans to play in the NFL and the CFL. If whoever's again, I'm gonna have that same mentality I had coming out of high school. Like somebody take a chance on me. If you take a chance, you'll see that it's gonna work out. So yeah, whoever's gonna give me that chance, I'm ready to go all out 100% for. And yeah, we'll see where that goes after the pro day.
Love that. So you already kind of answered it a little bit of what you
Yeah.
kind of want to showcase to coaches at the pro day and stuff like that. But I'm curious if you can kind of maybe tell fans and stuff like that, and even coaches who maybe possibly are watching, what they're going to get from Keelan White, not only as a player on the field, but off the field. You talked about kind of, I guess we actually haven't talked about it yet, but like I know the NIL stuff for Canadians is a little bit difficult compared to Americans, but like you started the coloring book and stuff like that, and you're very involved in the community. We talked about the Make It Happen camps and stuff like that, and being involved in or with the younger generation. So, if a team drafts what are they getting on and off the field if they draft Keelan White?
Yeah, on the field they're getting, like I said, the workhorse, hardworking guy who willing to do anything to help the team win. And yeah, whatever role I need to play, I will. And um, hopefully that's catching some balls. But I mean, I can do other stuff as well. I'm a good run blocker for one. That's one thing my dad always, after a game in Montana, he wouldn't say like, "Oh, good job, nice catch, like nice touchdown." He'd be like, "Good job blocking." So that was one thing he emphasized a lot. But
No
yeah,
block, no rock. You know what they say.
exactly. So yeah, that, and then yeah, off the field, I'm always willing to give back to the community. I love giving back. I love sharing my story and inspiring the younger generation to show that it's hard, not impossible, to come from Canada and do big things. And yeah, I mean, even at Montana, we put on kids camps every summer, and just super young kids who come out to learn football and stuff. Like I was part of that every year I was there. So it's just I love working with younger kids and the younger generation. So yeah, it's awesome.
All right, Keelan, last one, we'll get you out of here, buddy. And you've kind of bits and pieces already answered this, but I'm sure just adding to the excitement, man, if you don't mind answering it kind of again, I guess, of
Yeah.
just like you're on the footsteps of like your fulfilling your dreams of like hearing your name be called hopefully by a professional team, whether it's CFL, NFL, like you said,
Mhm.
regardless if it's in the NFL, maybe you're a UDFA guy and you get your opportunity still to we've seen the last few years with guys like Theo and Gio going down to exhaust all avenues. Nathan Rourke, the last few years to exhaust all avenues and opportunities down there to get their opportunity. If it doesn't work out for whatever reason, they have home to come back to. So just take us through the excitement, man, that must be building as we get to past the pro day and then into the draft.
Yeah, super excited for sure. To be honest, I haven't really thought as much about that right now because I'm pretty focused on pro day, and I mean it all kind of comes down to what numbers I put up there. So it's kind of a little stressful at this moment during the training process, but also yeah, like I am excited for what's going to come next. It's just where. So that's the uncertainty is a little stressful, but it's very exciting now that I am here on the doorstep of what I've worked my whole life for. So yeah, it's very exciting, and it's I'm grateful for everyone who's helped me along the journey and been a part of my journey get to where I am today. It's been an amazing ride, and yeah, I'm ready for what's next, but also a little bit nervous, but we'll see.
Hey, buddy, just keep carrying that confidence and charisma you have, man. It's a weird conversation that I've been having with all of our prospects we've been having on, like the combine pro day process means so much in like the grand scheme of things, but it also, like how often are you gonna run 40 yards in a straight line or like,
Exactly.
benching 225, how much does that have to do with, how I can play? And obviously it does. There is a lot that has to do with it, especially with your case of getting NFL looks and, the
Yeah.
measurables and how important that is with that process. But like I said, dude, I would just carry the same confidence that it seems like you've been carrying your whole career and just know that you can ball regardless of like whatever your password says or wherever you're from. So Keelan,
Exactly.
man, I
Yeah.
appreciate you for jumping on here today. That was a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
apologize it went a little bit over time, but
Oh, no,
um,
it gave me something to do today. It's awesome.
that's good, man. Like I
Yeah.
said, or kind of like I guess you're saying as well, of like why we started the platform. We're just trying to showcase, a little bit more about you guys and try to give you guys a little bit more of a spotlight, because you guys deserve it, right? And deserve to
Yeah.
be talked about and like you kind of believe as well, be
Yeah.
mentioned alongside of some of these guys that are competing. Just because they're Americans doesn't mean they're any better than you guys. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
thank you once again, Keelan, and wishing you the best of luck in the process. But anything else you want to get into, buddy?
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say thank you for doing this. Like this stuff is huge. Like I remember being in when I was in high school, there was no accounts or like like guys on social media talking about Canadian athletes. Really, it was all stuff like under the radar or um, all those American media accounts. But now, like I've like even from when I've been in school, is like there's Showtime, there's like Persevere, like all these Canadian accounts. I'm starting to see more and more of. So it's awesome to see the coverage and exposure, be be improved. So thank you for doing this for sure.
Yeah, yeah, man. And of course, you're at the tip of the spear right there, man, kind of leading the way. So,
Thank you.
once again, Keelan, wishing you the best of luck, buddy, in the next process. And who knows, maybe one day we'll be able to root you on in the orange and black, in your home orange and black. So,
That
before we
would
get out of here, though,
be
Keelan, of course, for anybody that's tuning in, please like the video, comment down below, wish Keelan some luck along the way throughout his process. And maybe if you want him to be drafted by your favorite team, you never know what's going to happen in the future. So, lastly, most importantly, please subscribe. When you guys subscribe, press the notification bell. You guys will get notified every single time we upload, go live, or upload any YouTube shorts, etc. Keelan, once again, buddy, we're wishing you the best of luck, and we'll be rooting you on the rest of the way, and we will catch you guys on the next one.